All right, welcome to the fourth and final round of Week 7 of the Legacy Mediocre League. Danny Batterman, Joe Lissette, and we actually have a normal matchup for a change.
A normal matchup
with
that's
Reanimator versus Elves.
perhaps somewhat one-sided, but yeah, we've had lopsided matchups before that Julian has dug his way out of, usually with very precise use of his sideboard cards. So I'm excited to see how this goes. It's definitely Tim is favored to maintain, sole possession of first place in the league, but yeah, I don't know. I thought Julian had some bad matchups before that he won, so you never know.
And he is on the play and has turn 1 Deathrite Shaman, so that's going to be his best way to actually interact in this matchup.
Sure.
I've never actually played Elves in Legacy. I've played Reanimator against Elves and won on a mulligan to 2, so that's kind of my assessment of this matchup. I think Deathrite changes things, though.
You ever notice how a lot of people's stories start something like, "Oh, I never played this, but the one time I did, this dreadful thing happened to me and I won anyway." There's a lot of stories like that going around.
No. I'm saying I played Reanimator for a stretch. I've never played Elves. When I was playing Reanimator, I got paired against Elves, and I mulliganed to 2, and I got there. This was way before Deathrite Shaman. But yeah, your point is valid.
Anyway, I actually like both players' hands here. Tim's obviously isn't great, but he's keeping, and he actually has a chance. Like if he draws an Exhume, he has the tools to beat a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, the nice thing about Exhume is that it doesn't target, and actually, realistically, it's just Exhume here because Exhume doesn't target. So that's it's become a lot more leaned on ever since Deathrite Shaman got printed. It's also a trick that has been done, have done, is with Exhume still on the stack after a Deathrite Shaman activation, you can cast Entomb, because after they eat your creature, and then you just get either another Gristlebrand or like an Elish Norn or a better copy of whatever you're going to get.
Yeah. With Tim drawing Brainstorm here, I actually no longer think he should just fire off the Careful Study, because Julian's going to be stuck basically leaving Deathrite Shaman untapped, barring Quarian Ranger Symbiote stuff. So Tim can just sit there and Brainstorm at the end of the turn and then try and go from there.
Yeah, Tim also has main deck Show and Tells.
Okay, I missed that. That's definitely important. You're right. Three
of them. I'm pulling up his list right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got 3 main deck Show and Tells. So another option is that he can literally just, not like just spew off a Brainstorm this turn with no fetch and being forced to redraw, but aggressively dig towards the Show and Tell.
Whoa. Has your shop been my display just skipped? I think I missed a couple turns there.
Yeah, I think mine skipped too. I think what happened is he cast Careful Study, he discarded, he's trying to go for the Exhume now that he found that Brainstorm. Whoa. And he passed. This is admittedly a little choppy on our end.
Yeah, so he did. Yeah, you're right. He did play the turn 1 Careful Study, discarded 2 guys.
Found a Lotus Petal, cast that, and then Julian played Cradle into Nettle Sentinel. Tim is now, it appears like on our screen, gone back, cast a Brainstorm, found the Exhume with another Lotus Petal and a land drop. So he's going to be able to have presumably a Tidespout Tyrant in play because Ion on green is a virtual death sentence.
Yeah. Yeah, Julian obviously has to eat the Ion, and Tidespout should be, Tim does have another Brainstorm, so that will, and a Lotus Petal, that'll actually allow him to reset the board. Although he
do you like firing off the Brainstorm here? Legitimate question. I think there are pluses and minuses to both.
No, I think I would just bounce the Deathrite Shaman with the Lotus Petal and pass the turn, probably.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that. Also, apologize for the technical difficulties going on. Oh, okay. At the moment, my screen is literally just seeing the Exhume.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's okay. We can just, narrate what is likely to happen since our screens are frozen. So probably the Exhume gets cast. Okay. And here we go. Now we're back to real life. So yeah, the lowest pedal bounce the Deathrite Shaman. And here we are. So now it's actually whoa.
So we're gonna force the Deathrite.
Would you force the Deathrite Shaman here? What do you think about this?
I mean.
Okay, so a couple things right here.
I don't think I like it all that much. Like he's got.
I absolutely would not force.
I
would not force the Deathrite Shaman. Casting the Brainstorm bounces the Deathrite Shaman, which is effectively the same thing. And then he bounced the Nettle Sentinel, which is just getting recast. I would have bounced the land, I think.
Yeah, I 100% would have bounced probably the Bayou in that spot.
Yeah. So, and now we're stuck.
So Julian does have a window to go off here with that Glimpse.
Well, it's not even a window. Well, yeah, it is. It's more like it's not even just a window. It's like a huge open front door, like in Versailles. It's just a gaping opening into the building. This is like even if he fails to go off here, what does Tim have? He has nothing.
Yeah, Tim is, I guess, probably praying just for a show and tell off the top because he has requisite mana to cast it, both through the pedal and the land. Yeah, this is, at this point, Julian's best line of play. The GTA is not really a live Magic card. Didn't draw into... Yeah, there was nothing much he could have done there other than just firing it off at that point. He's got Heritage Druid and a bunch of Visionaries next turn, so he could string together a bunch of card draws. Obviously, Tim's going to be bouncing creatures to reduce the power of that Cradle. It's found.
Yeah, Tim.
Griselbrand.
Chaining cantrips together is exactly what you need to do here. This will actually get him back in the game, and maybe he even is conceivably ahead now. Although I don't know if I'd go that far. We'll see what this Careful Study finds.
Yeah, he's gonna. We're gonna have to. If the Careful Study draws a reanimation spell for the Griselbrand, then I would say he's very ahead.
Well, yeah. In that case, the game's over. Again, we're bouncing. I don't know. Even at this point, I still feel like I'm bouncing lands, not creatures.
Well, the problem is Gaia's Cradle kind of makes bouncing lands not great because they just replay the Cradle and they have a ton of mana. This puts more constraint on Julian's mana.
Yeah, no, I understand. But we're playing against Elves, which is a deck that has a bad habit of just accumulating a bunch of mana anyway from his creatures. So, yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I see the merits of both ways, but I feel like I probably would have bounced lands.
Because I'm fine with bouncing creatures there. I don't think it's going to work out amazingly well in either spot just because of how well Julian's hand is set up. He's going to be spinning his wheels for a bit though. I mean, he's got a lot of mana, and the Visionaries are going to provide plenty of draws. The Wirewood Symbiote's going to add a redraw, and he found a Glimpse now.
Yeah, I think we're done. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5 more cards without even having to hit anything.
Yep. Okay, and he's hit Quirion Ranger now, so that's more mana off the Bayou if he doesn't draw another land. But, of course, he's also got, as long as he hits a 1-drop elf, he really doesn't even need to worry about casting lands. He's just drawing cards for... Doesn't even need to be a 1-drop elf, can just be a 1-drop creature, because Wirewood Symbiote gives him more elves and more draws.
Yeah, so there's the first black mana. If he gets
my screen is unfortunately frozen mid Nettle Sentinel untap. But
okay, it's with one more black source. A Birchlar Ranger, I suppose, to be the only way. This turn.
Quirion Ranger can untap, pick up the Bayou, and he can play it for his land drop for the turn. Like he hasn't made a land.
That's the cavern. Then either way, it's one black. I guess a Green Sun Zenith for Birchlar Rangers would get the second black also, although that would win the game outright.
No, we're good on my end, thankfully. But at this point, there isn't really much to say. Julian has, stitched together a win through sheer grit, some nice plays, and banking on the back of a turn run Deathrite to really...
Well, yeah, I mean, Julian is played well, but I do think we can't give him all the credit. I think Tim has made some mistakes in this game.
Yeah, that does not mean to... Julian he's one of the co-founders of this league, but he has not played mediocre all league. I want my money, my $0 back.
Oh,
at
he
this
actually
point.
is short a fraction on damage. I count. Currently, he can put him to 2, I think. And I'm sure he would like to not pass the turn here.
I agree, but at the same time, what is other than
There's
literally he has to hit exactly Elishnorn to get punished for passing the turn here? Oh, we found Bursal
You got the
Rangers.
Bursal Ranger as the last card.
Okay. Yep.
All right, so that will reset the.
And Symbiote bounces the.
Assuming that there may not be a symbiote that hasn't been used, although, yeah, there we go. There wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't think he used the second one.
Yeah. So it was on the last card, but that does do it, and Tim is crushed. So
yeah, you actually would have found the reanimation spell for the Elishnorn there. So Julian's got a pile of cards, all of the anti-combo stuff and the anti-graveyard stuff, between surgical extractions, thought seizes, cabal therapies, potentially Pithing Needle to stop Gristlebrand, but I don't think his number one concern is Gristlebrand in this matchup. I'd be more concerned about Elishnorn or Iona if I were in Julian's seat, because he's got, if an Elishnorn comes out, he's got one thing that he can cast a Craterhoof Behemoth, and that's it.
Sure, but the odds of something like that coming down, it being a singleton, I don't know. I think maybe he doesn't bring the needles in. I wouldn't. It depends on how much stuff he wants to bring out, obviously.
Yeah.
But Tim actually has Julian's deck has no white mana, does it? He's not playing Gaddock Team or anything.
No.
Yes.
Julian's deck has no white. It has white mana, but it doesn't have any white spells.
Sure. I wonder if the Massacre is worth bringing in as just something to hardcast for 4 mana or not.
Maybe? I don't know. I don't know if the game goes on that long.
I do want to add that Julian has run a deck with Taiga in it and no way to utilize red mana because he forgot to take it out from when he was running Rurik Thar, and then somebody net decked his list at like Prague Eternal and made top 16 with it. and it had the Taiga in it and nothing to do with Taiga.
That kind of stuff. I mean, that is the danger of net decking. You're right, Mike. There was one many years ago. I top aided something with, I think it was in a block constructed format with the land Okino in it, like the legendary land. I don't even remember what it did. And
Temple to Grandfathers,
I guess. And the
gives a legendary creature +1/+1 for green mana, taps, adds for green.
And the list got posted, and it was mistranscribed, and the Okino was Okibo, and they wrote in Okibo Gang Shinobi, which was a black ninja. And somebody at the next event I was at came up to me and were like, "Hey, I'm playing your deck. Can you tell me why this ninja is in here since it's uncastable?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, really? You should have put some more thought into this." So yeah, that's funny. That's the kind of thing does happen once in a while. All right, so game 2 here. What are we looking at? We're looking at
a mold of 5 from Tim's end.
Although it's a good 5.
It's a good 5. Julian's also looks like he's on a mold of 6, which is
6 is good.
Yeah.
So on that note, last year there was an Infect list that was mistranscribed as 4 Blightsteel Colossus instead of 4 Blighted Agent.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, but did somebody play that in the next event? Probably not.
I hope so.
That's a little too much. That's probably a little too much to even players that are completely unaware of what's going on probably didn't make that. Probably didn't screw that up.
Deathrite Shaman off the top for Julian is the big draw now, as Zenith can presumably find Scavenging Ooze or another target. Tim does have the answer for specifically the Deathrite here, but does not have the answer. I believe Julian's playing Ooze. I'm going to double check his deck list now. If he's not, please ignore everything I just said for the past few moments.
No, it's in the main deck.
Okay. So yeah, Pithing Needle's going to come down and stop Deathrite, but now Green Sun is, because Tim has no pressure whatsoever, can't even attack because Deathrite's a 1/2. Needle's going to come down, Zenith's going to come down and get Ooze, and then...
Well, remember, the Deathray Shaman's not making mana this turn, so he can't Zenith for 2 right away.
No, but he can hold it and kind of bank on surgical extraction, at least for the moment.
Yeah. So what Tim needs here is Careful Study plus Researcher into 2 creatures, and he could win on the spot, but that's pretty daring. He's gonna go for it. You got 1. 1 is not enough.
Yeah. Well, he thinks it's going to be enough, and it's a great creature to find in Iona, but Surgical Extraction is going to take care of that one. And all of the other non-existent copies of Iona in Tim's deck. Yeah, now that the Surgical has been actually cast, I think Julian has to go get Scavenging Ooze in this spot. I think if he didn't have to cast the Surgical, there might have been an argument for getting Elves Visionary and setting up that engine. Because both of them are low on cards.
Maybe. I don't know. I think you would go for Scavenging Ooze either way. I mean, it demands an answer. Tim doesn't have that many. One of them's already been used. So
I completely agree. I think they're. I don't know. I don't think it's a good argument, but also the fact that Julian doesn't really have a way to interact with Show and Tell.
Yeah.
Is like he might just want to try to draw through his deck as fast as possible and kill him. Him being Tim, as opposed to actually just sitting there with essentially at this point will be a bear and beating down for 3 a turn. That gives Tim a lot of time. Especially with Tim on a mold of 5.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be that long. It's 4 damage a turn, Tim's 18, and I mean, sure he has Exhume in his hand, but the Ooze covers that, and then I mean, you're right, he will be relying on Show and Tell, and Julian will know that. He also knows there's no creature in hand, so it's a long road for Tim to dig out of this.
Yeah, now he knows there's no creature in hand, but beforehand it was definitely a toss up. I still think I would have gone with the Ooze, but I'm just going to kind of assume that if Julian's going to go with a line, his logic is at least solid, even if it might not be objectively the best play. It's still not good. If it's going to be wrong, it's not going to be wrong by that much because of how good he is with this deck and how that he's been in these kind of spots way more often than I have.
Sure.
I do like the choice of getting Dryad Arbor to increase the clock, too. That was a...
Yeah, there's not much risk to doing that here. Unless we stumble into the Hardcast Massacre, which would be good, but we're way far away from.
Yeah. We're 2 mana and the Massacre away from it. Tim's list doesn't play any Dark Rituals. X is 2, Scavenging Ooze, leaving up green. Yeah, just end with the Deathrite. He doesn't want to trade off with anything else. All right, so Careful Study for Tim.
I think
yes. Chat pointing out that getting Dryad Arbor also provides 2 mana because of Cradle. Very valid point, which is relevant for Ooze.
And it makes extra mana from Symbiote also.
Yep.
I think Tim's basically just got to hold his cards and hope to draw a Brainstorm.
Not mediocre.
So much help. What was that?
That's a Hardcast Crater Hoof.
Yeah.
That's the game, I think.
Finish him.
Oh, I think you're right.
Like I am a math major. That means I cannot do addition. But yeah, Tim has to try to dig for Force of Will, and that's the match. Wow. Julian Knab in sole possession of first place. Once again, overcoming a matchup that I think both of us thought he didn't really have much of a chance against.
Well, it's not. I mean, yeah, he was not favored. That's for sure. Tim was definitely in. I mean, mulling to 5 in game 2 hurts, and maybe some different decisions could have resulted in game 1 going the other way, possibly. But yeah, I mean, even bad matchups in Magic are not dreadful. Like this is a pretty extreme matchup, and it's probably not worse than, 80-20 or 70-30. So Elves is going to win a fair amount of the time, even in bad matchups. And like we saw here, that wasn't even really, those two games weren't even that close.
No, they really weren't. Like, Julian played very well, and that's why he's in first place.
Yeah, I mean, Elves is a powerful deck. Now, again, this is the Elves without Natural Order, so you would think there would be even more of a disadvantage against combo decks here, but that didn't come into play. And Polished Elves.
I know he does that specifically to help improve his Miracles matchup, but across the field overall, he would have liked to have Natural Order, especially in these kind of matchups. But seemingly, it doesn't matter. This is a very combo-heavy league, and he's plowing right through it. So,
yeah, I'm not even. Go ahead.
No, go.
So I'm not even convinced that my personal opinion is that the Elf deck without Natural Order is worse against Miracles, but at least in Game 1. I feel like the matchup has become simple in Game 1. If there's no Natural Order to worry about, there's half as many real threats. But I think it's combo decks, I feel like it's even worse. But he's making it work.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you, but I think we can both speak from the Miracles side of this and not necessarily the Elf side. There are a couple of other very good Elves players I know. Eric Johnson is a local friend of mine who's put a lot of hours in the deck, who also agrees that cutting Natural Order is correct against Miracles. So... yeah, I'm gonna lean with their expertise, because they're the ones who have actually been on the side playing down Miracles, sitting against, facing the counterbalances and the terminuses and all that stuff.
Yeah. So this is the end of week 7, is that right? In the league?
Yeah, this is week 7.
Oh wow. So I think there are now not enough matches left for me to win, based on current standings.
What's your record?
I'm not even sure. I think I've lost 3, maybe 4. So yeah,
I think if Julian wins next week, then he wins the league.
Sure.
And if Julian loses and Tim wins, then we've got a tiebreaker. But there's also playoffs. It's not just straight cut to Swiss. So you could still make the top and then play it out potentially. I'm 3 and 4, and I've got a bye next week, so I'm pretty much dead in the water.
Well, your matchup today was really interesting, though. Your games were pretty epic. They were unusual. Obviously, you don't see too many reanimated or sneak attack creatures getting killed by planeswalkers. At least in my experience of Legacy.
I messed up a little bit with sequencing on Game 1, and then the brainstorm at Game 3, I might have been better to hold it, but yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, you should definitely go back and watch that, because I think I disagreed with about 27 things you did in the first game.
Sounds right.
And, it was a really entertaining match, and I think it was probably the best match we had this week. This last one was good in the sense that the supposed underdog won, but the 2 games were kind of lopsided. But if you guys are tuning in now and just catching the end of the show, and you are going to choose one match, if you only have time to go back and watch one matchup from this week, I think round 1, Danny's match in round 1 is the one you should watch.
Well, thank you. That means a lot.